in this chain that you sent was on July 11th of 2022. Do you see that on People's One in the middle of the front page?
Yes.
Okay, so on that day, that was July of 2022. Was there an election that was going to be coming up in the fall of 2022?
A special election in, I believe, August.
Okay.
2022.
Was that for the fire funding?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think in August 2022, the only thing on the ballot was a race for an open trustee seat.
Okay. So there was a need for you as supervisor to appoint election workers or election officials. Is that true?
Well, not as supervisor per se, but as a member of the election commission, the three members of the three commissioners, the treasurer and the supervisor, had that responsibility.
Okay. And there was a debate between you and Ms. Flintoff, the clerk, as to whether or not to publish the names and addresses of the workers. Was that one of the issues that you were emailing about?
Well, yes, that was a question. That was part of the question. That morning, and that was.
Thank you. And then in 2023, there was another election that was going to be held, I think in November of 2023. Do you recall that? Sorry, not an election. I guess it was a vote on was it a vote on a funding for the fire department? Do you recall that?
Yeah, I think that's when the fire department came up.
Okay. And was that vote going to occur in November of 2023, if you recall? If you know, if you don't, it's not.
I think it's correct. It's embarrassing. Whether it's August or it must have been November because we were meeting in August. That would have been too late to be meeting during August.
And shortly before this incident happened, in the fall of 2023, leading up to this election, or sorry, this I guess it's an election, regarding the vote on the funding of the fire department. In this time frame, did you come to learn of an email that the clerk Jessica Flintoff sent on August 5th, 2023 to 4 members of the board?
Did learn that.
Okay.
And that helped me to understand the context for that email that was forwarded from my.
And so, what the email that I'm talking about on August 5th, 2023, do you recall reading in the email that Jessica Flintoff warned or told the other members of the board that you might raise the same issue again, or that issue might come up regarding publishing the names and addresses of the election workers?
I'm going to object as to hearsay.
I'll overrule it. Go ahead. You can answer.
Okay, so your question is, was I aware of what Clerk Flintoff?
Yeah, I mean, you read the email, right?
Yes, I have now read the email. I heard of the email and I was told of the exchange before I actually saw the email. I was not a recipient of the email at the time that it was sent in August.
When did you learn the gist of the email in 2023? Was it prior to November 15th, 2023?
At this point, I can't tell you exactly when I learned of it.
Okay.
I didn't see it until much later.
All right. Well, the election in 2023, hadn't that already occurred on November the 7th of 2023, the election regarding the funding?
The fire
Yeah.
special assessment election would have already occurred, I believe.
Thank you. Now, after seeing that or learning of that email, you don't know when you did, but when you learned that Ms. Flintoff had sent an email saying that the issue regarding publishing the names could come up again, did you consider forwarding the email from Mr. Homier to Jessica Flintoff? Did you think about doing it?
Did she raise this?
Yeah.
Did I think of forwarding it? No.
You didn't consider forwarding the email that in question, the July 11, 2022?
No. When I learned that Flintoff had brought up this issue again from 2022, I was surprised. I thought that was behind us. I had no interest in adding anything more to that researching content.
Did you ever search any of your boxes on your Outlook? I'm talking again about the Scioto Township email that you had. Did you ever look through, let's say, either your send box or your inbox to find that July 11, 2022 email that's at issue in this case? Did you ever look for it prior to November 15th, 2023?
No, not until after this happened. And then I did go back and try and trace my steps back. Yes, I hadn't really looked at that. When I did see it again, I was sort of like, seemed like history.
So would you agree with this statement that you neither looked for that email nor considered sending the email?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Look for it and consider sending it.
Who is Steve Ranzini? Do you know who that is?
He's a banker, isn't he? And
I'm just asking you, do you know Steve Ranzini?
yes, just as a little context. I think if I'm thinking of the same person, I have met him, yes.
Okay. And did you ever tell him that the email in question was in your draft emails and you never intended to send it, you never intended to send that email, but it was in your drafts. Did you ever tell Mr. Ranzini that email was in your drafts?
Which emails?
The email in question. Did you ever tell? Let me rephrase my question. Did you ever tell Mr. Steve Ranzini that you were going to forward that Mike Homier email that we're talking about? You were going to forward that to Jessica Flintoff, but you changed your mind. That's my question.
No, that conversation never occurred.
Okay. Do you ever check? Do you go on the? Well, let me ask you this. Do you know why? Are you aware that Mr. Ranzini posted to Facebook that you had told him that? Are you aware that he posted that? So there would be no reason for him to have posted that, as far as you know, correct? Okay. Would it refresh your memory if you looked at that post? Would that help you remember it, or help you answer the question?
Is he remembering if he doesn't have any memory of it?
Withdrawn, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, and then what devices? When I say devices, I mean, first of all, how many devices were you using to access your Scioto Township email in November of 2023?
Well, let's see, I do most of my work on my laptop computer, and that travels back and forth with me from home. I also work on my.
I'm sorry, before you go to the second one, can I just ask you real fast about the first one? The laptop, are you talking about the Scioto issued laptop, or are you talking about a personal laptop? Like, is it a Mac?
Amazon Township issued laptop during the first 6 months of my term. But I prefer using my Apple laptop, so I returned that to the township. I had another need for it, and so I gave it back. The other computer, to finish answering your first question.
Yes.
The desktop computer at my office at Scioto Township.
Okay, so you used a personal laptop, an Apple laptop, correct?
Yes.
You didn't use the SIO issued laptop, correct?
Not after the first few months. Township.
Okay, so like in November, like, let me back up. At any time in 2023, you were elected in 2020, correct?
Right.
So at no time in 2023 were you using the SIO laptop. Is that fair?
Well,
Oh, sorry. The SIO laptop that you had returned, that you had given back.
and went back into, got repurposed to somebody else.
Understand. So am I right to say that they were really, well, hold on. What about your phone? Did you ever use your phone to send and receive emails?
Rarely do, but never use it for Township.
But you did use your personal laptop for official emails, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then that just leaves the SIO meeting laptop. Did you use the SIO meeting laptop, the one that Miss Kerry was using on November 15, 2023? Did you ever use that laptop to with your emails?
Well, the only reason that I would use that is to launch a meeting. Remove that laptop from that room, and I never used it for anything except that purpose.
Do you know how your profile for Outlook, the Microsoft Outlook client, do you know how it got loaded or onto that joint SIO Township laptop? Do you know who put you on there, put your profile on there? If you know.
Well, this is getting into sort of technical area that I'm not that well versed in. My understanding is that the shared laptop in the meeting hall was set up in such a way that when one opened their Outlook email on that computer, it kept it open. That was, in essence, the security problem that existed. My one several that was open on that computer on November.
You know, I'm going to object and ask that this be stricken, Your Honor, because he has no foundation to say what was opened or what wasn't open.
You asked him the question.
Okay.
Actually, it's in that report that he showed me earlier from Chris Bailey.
Hold on a second.
It's overruled. Okay.
So there were three emails that were.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Kaplan. Just give us 1 second, please. Does the court need a response, or is the?
I do not need a response. I'm gonna let his answer stand.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're not a technical person as far as computers. Is that fair to say?
Don't claim that. I am, no.
All right. And for instance, in this case, you tried to do a Zoom meeting request on November 13th of 2023, and you came to learn that it got sent out at some later time, correct?
At this point, it's a little difficult to remember all of the particulars of that struggle, but
Okay.
it basically stemmed from the person who usually posted the DDA agenda had taken off vacation days and was not there either at the end of the prior week or that day on Monday, the 13th of November, 2023. And so those of us who were there realized that a step had been missed. The Zoom link had not been posted, and we were trying to solve it in her absence and struggling with it.
Okay. Well, so let me just finish up this one area. The devices you used, you did not use your phone. You said that, right? Did not use your phone for emails. Okay. So just the personal laptop, the desktop at your office, and then did you have a computer at home that you used, like a desktop at home that you used to check emails, your SIO emails?
No. Trying to remember if I've ever used a desktop at home for that purpose. If so, it would have been back in 2021.
Okay. Okay. As far as using your personal Apple laptop for official business. Were you advised that that was contrary to the policy of Scioto Township to use your personal devices?
Objection, no.
Overruled.
Subsequent to this incident, there was, I guess, kind of a message to that effect, yes.
Was that from Jessica Flintoff, the clerk?
Yes.
And she asked you to stop using your personal laptop, correct?
Well, she expressed her opposition to my use of my personal computer for township business. I can't remember the exact phrase.
Do you know if any other officials use their personal devices for? Is it possible that you were the only one that used their personal devices for? If you don't know, then you just don't. Okay. And you know, as we sit here today, that your SIO Outlook has sent things in the past without your knowledge or intent. In other words, emails and at least one email, which I'll talk about in a second. But you've had an email and a calendar invite sent from your email account without your intent. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and start with the calendar invite. You're aware that a calendar invite went out from your Outlook on November 15th, 2023, about 27 seconds or just seconds before the email that Mr. Kerry is charged with sending out. You know that that's a fact that a calendar invite went out at around the same time. 6:08.
I'm going to object this to foundation. The question was if this went from his Outlook, and it is very specific in what I expect will come out in further evidence that one was received by someone in their Outlook coming from an email address, but it came directly from Zoom for an invitation, not from Outlook. So I'm going to object to the form of the question and the foundation because I do not believe it is appropriate. And I believe it misstates.
Response.
I'm not really sure what the legal objection is, but I'll move on and try to ask it a different way.
Well, the legal objection is that there's a lack of foundation to your question.
Okay.
So I'll sustain the objection.
Are you aware, during the course of this investigation, were you communicating with Detective Parvis?
Yes.
And did you do that through email?
I communicated with Detective Parvis in various ways. I spoke with him on the phone. I think, yes, communicated via email and
Text.
We eventually met in person. Possibly text messages as well.
You would check in with him every now and then to get updates on the investigation, correct?
Well, at first, when he was actively investigating, there was some back and forth. He was seeking access to various things, and I was trying to facilitate that for him. When he reached the conclusion of his initial investigation in December, he communicated, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really have a lot of back and forth with him after that until he got brought back in by, I think, when the court process started and questions further discovered.
Okay. Now, as to the calendar invite that I'm talking about a calendar invite that was sent from your Outlook on November 15th of 2023. Were you questioned about that by Detective Parvis? Were you asked about that?
That I think came up when this were discovery, and I can't remember exactly, that was in October, something like that.
Right. And you admitted that this calendar invitation was part of you trying to do whatever you were trying to do on the 13th of November of 2023.
I don't know that I admitted it, but I looked into it and I determined that that's what it was related to. At first, it came to my attention actually the day after the 16th. That's when the front desk clerical employee at the township notified me that she'd gotten this sort of puzzling calendar invite. And at the time, I was so focused on everything else that that didn't seem irrelevant. But when actually Parvis was looking into it, I went back, and that's when I realized that it must have been related to the efforts to try and start the Zoom meeting for the DDA.
Do you recall sending out, like doing anything to generate that meeting invitation on November 13th of 2023?
Yeah, I think it was probably created as I was working at the trying to get Zoom started set up for the DDA meeting. So I was sort of running back and forth between meeting hall and the shared computer there, and talking with the clerical employee out front at the other end of the township hall to try to enlist her help in getting a Zoom meeting created and a link published.
Did you attempt on November 13th, 2023, did you attempt to send a calendar invitation to Fran Zuma?
Yes, the Fran Zuma is the person I'm talking about. I can't recall all of the back and forth that occurred between 9 and 12:30 that day.
Yep.
We were frantically trying to solve this problem and kind of failing up until finally something worked around 12:20, 12:30.
Do you remember ever hitting send to try to send out this meeting request? If you remember, if you don't.
Well, like I said, I mean, I may have, I'm sure I sent things to her that day. And probably from that shared laptop computer, because that's where I was working, trying to set this.
And Mr. Arthur, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying you don't remember sending it? You could have sent the meeting request?
So you were trying to set a Zoom meeting, correct? And so when you're trying, council, when you're trying to set a Zoom meeting, the invitations will go out depending on who you have there. It's what it sounds like he's doing.
I understand.
And so I just don't want his testimony to indicate something that doesn't happen. And for anybody setting up a Zoom meeting realizes what happened. Just by the simple things that he's saying to me, I can tell what occurred. And this person happens.
I'll move on, Judge.
Thank you.
And but you weren't trying to set it up for November 15th, were you?
No, I'm trying to set it up for that day. It was so urgent.
Understood. But you know that Fran Zuma received it on the 15th, correct?
She found it, well, she reported to me, I got a message from her on the morning of the 16th that she had received this calendar invite for a meeting that had already occurred. And she didn't, I don't think her message to me was anything more specific than that.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I looked at it more closely that I realized it was related to that effort 2 days prior, 3 days prior, to start up the DDA.
Okay, but you believe that it was related to what you trying to start the meeting on the 13th of November. But you believe that Fran receiving this late meeting request was a result of whatever you were doing on the 13th to start the meeting, correct?
Well, I think that the meeting invite was created, this is my interpretation, I don't know if it's correct, but when I look back at it, as if this meeting invitation is something that was created on Monday, the 13th of November, as we were working together, frantically to, no pun intended, to get the meeting started. And the, why it transferred, when someone was in my email on my computer, the 15th,
Now, let me ask you about an email in January of, on January 31st, 2024. Around this time, this is like, just to look at the time frame. This is about 2.5 months after the incident with Jillian Kerry. So January 31st, 2024, I want to direct you to that time period. Did you receive an email from someone named Kim? I'm sorry, did you send an email to someone named Kim Moore? Do you recall that?
I sent an email to the members of the transportation advisory. We had just begun meeting in January.
May I approach with Exhibit G, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
G.
Yeah, actually, I'll hold off on approaching for a second, but first I want to ask a preliminary question. I'll let you have a drink. Oh,
That's all right.
okay. And did you, did your email send an email on its own to Kim Moore in January of 2024?
That's another thing that I looked into, because
I'm sorry, I do not mean to interrupt you in any way possible, Your Honor. I just would like to ask a yes or no question if I could.
Well, then you need to phrase it that way.
I'll try better, Your Honor. The question is, did you apologize to Kim Moore for your email, your Outlook sending something?
in her capacity as a member of this transportation advisory committee, yes, because she and the others all received an email from me twice.
Okay. And did you send an email saying, apologizing to Ms. Moore, saying, sorry, this email seems to have sent itself again when I logged in just now?
Yes.
Okay, so this would be an example of, and let me show you, can I approach with Exhibit G now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Hathaway, please look at Exhibit G. And can you tell me whether or not you sent the email that's highlighted? If you recall sending it?
I do.
Okay, and does this appear to be email that you sent on that day, based on your recollection?
It's one of many that I sent that day, but
Okay.
I did, and as you can see, it's sent to everyone on the committee, not just to Kim.
Understood. At this time, I would move in Defense Exhibit G, Your Honor.
Any objection to voir dire?
Just a brief word here, Your Honor.
Sure.
Mr. Hathaway, you sent this to Kim Moore and it looks like three other people?
And 3 other people. So 4 total.
And can you tell what happened after you sent this email? It was then sent to the defendant as well by Christy Aiken, is that right?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know who sent it from there.
thank you. No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit G is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hathaway, you see the text of Exhibit G where you say the email seems to have sent itself again when I logged in. Can you explain what happened with your email, how your email sent itself, if you know? Or if you don't know, then you don't know.
Well, my email was doing this for a while, and when I became aware of it, I tried to be attentive to the problem. But what I learned is that if I began an email and then pulled it, I don't know what the technical term is for this, but the up at a full screen, sort of pulling it out of the smaller context of the email, and worked on it, that sometimes, not always, sometimes it would create this kind of shadow that would still exist in the other place. It only happens on Outlook. It's one of those tedious things of Outlook. And I don't know if other people have experienced it, but what would sometimes happen is that and send the completed email, and this shadow email would still exist. And I would discover it later, and it would be sort of like an earlier draft of email that I had sent. And that is, I think, what happened here. The email sent the second time did not have the attached files that I sent with the finished email.
But you did not do anything yourself to send the second email, correct?
No, I think what happened is when so I sent it, the first email, finished, attached things, sent it when I was working from home. And when I got to my township office and logged on, somehow it sent it in.
Understood.
But it was an earlier draft of.
Understood. And you said just a minute ago in your testimony, you said your email was doing this for a while. What is this? The same? Were you referring
During that period in early 2024, I noticed that it would sometimes do this. And so I became, sort of more careful.
how many? Oh, sorry. Are you done? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stop you.
Well, that's okay. Go ahead.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. How many times did it happen apart from the time with Kim Moore and the rest of the folks on this one?
This was maybe one of 3 times that I noticed that this happened. It didn't always send another email. That was not but I would discover that there was kind of like an earlier draft that I already finished.
I see.
Started bringing to kind of like
Were there other times besides the exhibit G where the emails were sent?
Answered.
No, he said,
Jane,
good. Let me ask you about the email itself. Do you still have people's A in front of, or people's one in front of you? The email that got forwarded?
Yeah.
Now, the person that you're speaking with, Mr. Homier, he's a town attorney for the township, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Homier is not your personal attorney, correct?
Oh, no.
Okay.
He wasn't.
Does he represent the township? Let me back up. Does he interact with members of the board of trustees?
Did when he was doing.
Okay.
He's one of, I should clarify, he's one of several township attorneys.
And people like Miss Kerry, she was a trustee at the time, correct?
Objections to the question, because I don't know what time we're talking about, if we're talking about the time of the conversations.
I'll rephrase it. We don't need.
Or 2023.
rephrase.
Yeah. So let me say it this way. In November of 2023, specifically November 15th of 2023, Jillian Kerry was a trustee at Scioto Township, correct?
She was at that time.
And as a trustee of Scioto Township, she could have communications with Mr. Homier as well, couldn't she?
Certainly could.
And she would be privy to his advice to the township, correct?
Objection, it calls for a legal conclusion.
Overrule.
As a trustee, yes, she would have been privy to legal counsel from a township attorney.
So and the same would be true of Jessica Flintoff, correct?
Yes. Officers of the township are also members of the board of trustees. We're all in it. We're all have the same access to township units.
Thank you. And are you familiar with the email policy for Scioto Township?
I couldn't quote it to you, but.
Okay. Can I approach with Exhibit H?
You can.
Showed you what's been marked Defendant's Exhibit H, Mr. Hathaway, and I'm referring to the Scioto Township Employee Handbook, Section 52. Does this appear to you to be a copy of the email policy? If you know.
Well, this was last amended. It says it now, it was a change. Last amended November 12, 2024. So it appears to be policy as amended.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you that this is, exactly what the policy was.
Understood. Last amended meaning the last time it changed was November 12th, 2024. Is that how you understand that?
That's how I understand it.
Understood.
That's why, since it has that note, we'll just put that caveat on. I don't know if this is, for example, in November 2023 or July 2022.
Okay. Well, isn't it true that the policy states that that employees don't have a personal privacy right in any email communication?
I have objectives to reading from this exhibit before.
I'm not reading. I'm not reading. I'll take that back. I'm not going to introduce it. Oh, can I approach?
Yes. Yeah.
But isn't it true? I'll just ask you this. Isn't it true that you were aware that the policy for emails in Scioto Township was that they were not personal privacy? You have no personal privacy right to those emails. Isn't that the policy?
I understood that use of the email, is not a private thing.
And that you shouldn't expect that it is private, correct?
Well,
I'll withdraw the question.
yeah.
You already answered it. I'll withdraw. And the policy is also that the email system is the property of Scioto Township, correct? And as clerk, as clerk, Jessica Flintoff has access to the Scioto Township emails. Is that correct?
Not sure exactly what you mean.
Well-
She has access to her emails. As the FOIA board, she has access to, in a way, everybody's emails.
Right. And the policy you just said is that the email system is the property of the township, not any one person, correct?
Correct.
So if Miss Jessica Flintoff wanted to go and look at any of your emails, she could have done that logistically.
Logistically.
I'm not asking if it's legal. I'm just asking if she physically could have done that
Well, at what time?
in November of 2023.
No. At that time, she was not the FOIA coordinator. So she would not have had that administrative authority.
Even though she was the clerk, correct?
Yes, being
Okay.
the clerk is not the same as being the clerk. Unless,
Understood. Thank you. Now, isn't it true? Let me ask you if you know. Do you know whether or not your let me back up. Isn't it true that the Scioto Township computers, all the Scioto Township computers, had been configured to send any emails immediately upon connection to the internet?
Protection Foundation. I don't know if it's-
Sustained.
Question.
You don't know whether or not that there was a configuration to send immediately your emails upon connection. If you don't know.
Technical thing about the.
Okay, thank you. Now, in addition to communicating, as you already talked about with Detective Parvis, you explained how you communicated to him. Did you also communicate with Deputy Phillips?
I had communications with Deputy Phillips as well during the investigation.
The same methods, emails, calls? How did you communicate with him?
I think it's the same, basically, I think in the same, because I can't remember. I know I had phone calls and in-person meetings with him. I think I also sent him emails. I know I sent him at least one email.
And also, did you send texts to any of the law enforcement folks? If you know.
I don't think I had text back and forth with Deputy Phillips.
Okay, and speaking with Detective Parvis, did Detective Parvis ever ask you, did you ever provide Detective Parvis with your cell phone?
No, that was a question that came up during the early days of the investigation. And my recollection is that the primary reason for the request was to verify my location at the time that the email was forwarded. And I found another way to verify location. In fact, the question sort of just went away. It didn't seem to be a big issue. Access to my phone.
So you never provided your phone to Detective Parvis?
Well, it was Deputy Phillips who had asked. I think he had asked, and he said because he had a request last time. I'm not sure whom had asked him to ask him for access to my phone, but he did. It was Deputy Phillips.
Okay, this is just a yes or no question. Did Detective Parvis ever ask you to take your phone and extract it for the purpose of extracting what's on it?
No. Detective Parvis did not ask me for that.
Did Detective Parvis ever ask you to have your laptop, your personal laptop, so it could be to take it to be imaged, basically? He never asked for it.
No, I don't think so. The focus was on the shared laptop.
Have a moment, take the birth of my client, Your Honor. No further question, Your Honor.
Let me redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hathaway, are you a computer forensics expert? Okay. And would you agree that you're not a computer expert in general?
Yeah, no, I often find myself turning to my daughters for advice.
Sure. Defense attorney had asked you about emails for Scioto Township folks. Do you recall that line of questioning, talking about the assigned emails, not using your personal emails, something along that line?
Sorry, say that.
Yeah. So let me ask a different question. Maybe this would be better. Are you given a Scioto Township specific email address when you become involved with the leadership of Scioto Township?
Yes.
And is that the email you're to use when sort of conducting business for Scioto Township?
Yes.
Do committee members get these emails, or is it just sort of elected officials?
Some people who are serving as volunteers on advisory boards do have Scioto Township emails. Usually it's like the chair of an advisory committee. And then there's email lists that are created that would include all of the members of, for example, the downtown development board. You could just send to that. So it would go to all of them. So it's the emails that you see additionally.
Do you know with any certainty which versions of Outlook you've used throughout your time on the Scioto Township board? Yes. As in software versions, not platforms. Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right.
No, Ross.
You may step now.
May this witness be excused?
Any
Yes.
objection?
No objection.
Witness is excused.
Your Honor, may I have just 5 minutes before we start with Detective Parvis, just for.
How long is that expected to take? Because I was gonna take a break anyway, but I may have to move something if this is gonna be a lengthy.
May we approach? I hate to answer a question with a question, but
Come on.
thank you.
Yes. All right, the court has had an opportunity to speak with counsel. We've gotten through two witnesses. The last witness for the people, I think, is Detective Parvis. This may take a substantial period of time, but what I will do is then I will adjourn this matter to May 13th, 2025 at 11 a.m. So I'll have you start at 11 so I can try to clear out the other prelims of the day. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll give those to Ann. We'll hold on to them.
The court will hold the admitted exhibits?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Say 5:13. F11.